So a little over a year ago, I did a video about my T-Mobile internet experience and my initial thoughts since the service was relatively new. And I ended up getting the 4G modem originally. This is what came out in 2020. But recently I've been having issues with connectivity, so I decided to go online and figure out what might be the cause. And a lot of people experience the same issue where the battery light would turn red, which I guess indicates some kind of firmware upgrade. A lot of people said the problem was solved by upgrading to the 5G modem, which is what I ended up doing. So this is the new modem, and it's kind of reminiscent of Apple's Mac Pro from the late, I guess, teens. Not the early 00s, but the early 10s and teens, where they made a cylindrical computer. But this actually looks fantastic in my opinion. It also has a battery like the previous model, except this one has a little touchscreen on top that tells you how many devices are connected, how much battery backup is left. You can change your settings. Interestingly enough, the text messages are readable on the screen, but not from the admin console like the previous version. And then our connection here, which you could see there's only 2 bars, and I think I know why. And I think I know why this internet is still acting up despite the modem upgrade, and why I probably won't hold on to T-Mobile internet forever. But I do want to talk about my experience in the past year and a half or so, as well as what I expect to get out of it in the next few months. So since my last video, we've actually had almost no problems with T-Mobile internet. It's been very, very reliable, with the exception of a couple things. The biggest issue has been the IP addresses that we are given are from bigger cities outside of our area. So I'm down in Fredericksburg, and more often than not, we're getting IP addresses from Baltimore or even the Massachusetts region, which as you can imagine, it could cause some conflicts with location-based verification services like what Hulu uses for their live TV. So I don't think those services work with the internet, at least not yet. The regular Hulu works, but not any live TV packages from them. Another limitation with the previous modem was the 20 device limit. You could put 10 devices on the 2.4 gigahertz and 10 devices on the 5 gigahertz network. And for most people this shouldn't be an issue, but when you have 38 light bulbs that all connect to the Wi-Fi, that becomes a bit of an issue. But I did find a workaround with that particular modem that I hope will also work with the 5G modem once our service is restored, which I'll explain why it's not working in a second. So the workaround for that was to just buy a second router. I just bought a cheap Asus router off of Amazon and set it to wireless access point mode, so it wasn't doing any of the DHCP or routing. The T-Mobile was still in charge of that. But basically this allowed the T-Mobile router to see all devices connected to the Asus as wired devices, which I guess they did not put a limit on. I'm not sure if this was overlooked by T-Mobile or if they had an issue with their router's firmware handling more than a certain number of devices. But nonetheless, that's been working for over a year now, problem-free. I have anywhere from 35 to 55 devices on the network at any given time, including all the smart lighting behind me, which actually a lot of that's just regular neon, but they're plugged into smart plug, so I can turn them on and off remotely at night. So that's been great. And streaming, we've been able to stream on multiple TVs with no issues. There's a bit of a latency issue when it comes to getting content. So if you're starting a stream, it takes a little bit longer to start it. Wired devices, no issues at all. Every hardwired computer I have hooked up and every hardwired device, including my Xbox, virtually no issues. I don't play a lot of online games, so I can't guarantee that you'll have a perfect gaming experience. But as far as the Forza franchise goes, I've had very little to no issues with that. Wireless devices, particularly laptops, those all work fine. Latency seems okay. However, when it comes to Android devices like my Pixel 4a, there does seem to be a lot more latency. It takes a lot longer to load web pages, Facebook, YouTube, etc. So I don't know if this has something to do with the way phones route data, and if it's something to do with the fact that it's going through a 4G modem, or if there's a technical limitation with the router that causes it to take longer with certain devices. So it'll be interesting to see how those devices pan out on the new router. So let me explain why my internet's still not working properly, and why I probably will be switching to Fios once they lay the fiber on our street, which is supposed to happen sometime next month. So in early March, I was getting ready to go on vacation, and about a week before we were leaving, we had an issue where certain devices were connecting, some devices were partially working, like we could get notifications for our cameras, but we couldn't see the picture. Certain lights would work, but others wouldn't. Some websites would work on some devices, but not on others. So it seems to be some kind of DNS issue. So I reached out to T-Mobile, and they said that they're doing tower maintenance in our area. So I guess they're upgrading the tower to 5G, is what I got from my conversation with them. However, it's still going on, and it's almost April, so we've been without functioning internet for about 3, almost 4 weeks now, which is really not acceptable from a customer service standpoint. However, to T-Mobile's credit, when I switched out the routers and I explained my issues, they did credit me for the month of March, which was nice of them that they could help me out there. But still, I'm very frustrated that it's taken them this long to upgrade the tower and resolve our connectivity issues. That being said, we do use these 5G gateways on our job site in Northern Virginia, and they're absolutely phenomenal. If you're tired of Xfinity or even Verizon jerking you around with pricing and contracts and equipment rentals, I still do stand by the T-Mobile product. It's unfortunate that it's taken them this long to resolve our local internet down here in Fredericksburg, but still my experience has been generally positive up to this point. So I really do hope to make one more video kind of reviewing this piece of equipment here, the trash can as I like to call it. It really is a nice device, and if I'm not mistaken, this will support up to 64 devices with the internal antennas and all that, which I'm excited to actually try. The only thing I do not know is if you need more than 64 devices, if plugging a router into the back will resolve the issue. However, there is another solution which I've been trying right now with the outage issues we've been having, and that is to create a subnet on your second router. So basically, you're going like one level deeper into the inception of the internet. The internet sees this as one device. Everything that's connected to this, like your phone, your laptop, your Xbox, talks to the internet through network address translation. So the internet doesn't actually see those individual devices. Long story short, there's obviously port forwarding and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, the internet is not actually seeing those devices directly as if they were on a local network. And that's essentially what you're doing by creating a subnet. So it's just going through 2 layers of routers to get to the internet. And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing if this does not support more than 64 wired devices, if I hit that limit. And that should fill my needs for the time being until we have other options on our street. But as you remember from the previous video, we're on a dirt road, so there's not many options here. Our other option currently is HughesNet. I don't think we can get Starlink here yet. Plus the entry cost of Starlink is much higher. So I don't think that's going to be on our list of options anytime soon. So here's my bottom line. Would I recommend T-Mobile? Absolutely. However, I think if you have access to a wired service like Verizon Fios, wired is always going to be your best option. But if you're tired of playing the contract game with Verizon and Xfinity, this really is the best option. And the technical limitations for what this kind of internet can do for the average person really isn't that much lower than what fiber can do. The speeds aren't quite fiber speeds, but for the average consumer, it's more than enough, especially if you're only in a household of maybe 2 to 4 people. If you live in a bigger household, you probably want fiber just because the latency between your Wi-Fi being translated to 5G or 4G signals. However, as I said previously, we are using these in our field office, which we have about 6 or 7 people on our team, not including other contractors that may need to use our internet from time to time. And we also have a printer and a smart TV in the office, which are connected to it. And it all works seamlessly, including video conferencing. The only time the video conferencing doesn't work is down in the basement. Sometimes the reception is a little spotty. We have two units, one on the first floor, one down in the basement of the building we're leasing. So yeah, I hope this video has been helpful. Unfortunately, I will probably eventually cancel this service. But if your other option is satellite internet, this is light years ahead of that technology. And also, for the average person, it really isn't a bad option. And at $50 a month with no equipment rentals or taxes, it really is a bargain of a service. And despite the outages, I think I'm getting my money's worth with this service. So that's my take, and thanks for watching.